Hey everybody, Robert here from blackbeltgaming, continuing to read through the bards and their subclasses here in Adventures Dark and Deep. Let's take a look at the Skald today, and this is the second subclass. We had the bard, the jester, and today we're looking at the Skald. So just straightforward, they are human barbarian bards basically. The hit dice for a Skald is D12 and non-lawful alignment. The very interesting thing in comparison here is not only that drastic change in hit points with their D12, but they also can use any weapon and any armor, and shields are fine. So let's take a look at some of the information on the Skald. They share the barbarians' disdain for civilization, and their skills are adapted to survival in the wilderness, but they still have the verbal patter skills of the bard. The hit point, the experience point and level progression is, I don't think, as... I haven't looked at the barbarian class yet. I believe that's going to be a subclass of fighter, but... I just remember from the old Unearthed Arcana barbarians, and the experience points required to level up was really high. And this doesn't look to be... This is higher than normal, but not outrageously so. Just a note that if the Skald should change alignment to lawful, they will have become civilized, and they lose their abilities other than the verbal patter and their hit point adjustment. So what are their abilities? Well, they have an anti-magic bias. We've read some about this, about the human barbarian. Not the class, but just the type of human. And they have this fear of magic and magic users and magical items. They're reluctant to even associate with spellcasters except for clerics and some of their subclasses. And they'll probably seek to destroy most magical items. So we can go back and I think read on a previous page about some of this with the human barbarians as they're described. Again, not the barbarian class. That's going to come later. They have the higher base movement rate of 150 feet per round, and they can leap and jump. So they have the ability to just basically stand still, and they can jump 10 feet forward or 3 feet in any direction. And if they get a running start, they can jump 16 to 21 feet. They can even jump 4.5 to 6 feet straight up. All right, musical instruments. There is a skill system in this game, and I haven't read through it yet. We will be coming to that, but I'm interested to find out if that had come from Gary, or was that from another source, or is this skill system coming from the author? But we're going to read about that. But it says that Skalds begin the game with one skill level in music instrument as a secondary skill. And they, I guess, have the instrument itself in their inventory. So it's required, this, not only the skill, but the instrument to use their verbal patter abilities and to cast their spells properly. So if they don't have their instrument, they have a 25% chance of failure. And eventually around level 6, the Skald can select singing as their instrument and be able to use their abilities without the need of their physical instrument. The Skald as a barbarian type are required to choose certain weapons with their weapon proficiencies. At first level, they need to take hand axes, knives, and spears. And depending upon the campaign setting, there could be something else. So again, unlike sort of, I guess you could say, the modern take on the game where everything seems to be allowed, like all races and all classes and anything in this book and anything in that book you can play. My memories of AD&D First Edition were that sometimes you might play in a game where certain classes, certain races, certain items, certain spells were not allowed because it didn't fit the setting. And so it's just telling you here, you may want to check with your game master to see what kind of weapons a Skald may need to select at first level. Sixth Sense. So this is pretty neat. It basically cancels a thief's backstab ability, or for somebody attacking them from behind. They have a 5% chance per level to detect an attack. It allows them to negate the bonus to the attack. They're able to wheel around and face the attacker and even get a bonus strike, which is really cool. And it doesn't count against their normal number of attacks per round. I haven't read through the Barbarian class yet, since it's a subtype of fighter, I think. But I wouldn't be surprised if this same Sixth Sense ability is there as well. Verbal Patter. We've read about this with the basic Bard class, and it's listed here for the Skald as well. Let's see, there's something about combat here. The Skald may engage in combat in the same round as he uses verbal patter, except when using a musical instrument to accompany his verbal patter ability. So you can't use your instrument and, kind of fumble around with your weapons in the same round. But I guess once you're starting to be able to sing it or verbalize it, then you could. That's my take on it. So we have attend, demean, distrust, enrage, inspire, and value. Let's take a look at these. These are going to be modified by charisma. Attend is that ability to grab attention of the audience, to get them to listen. And demean is sort of insulting someone and makes, let's see, what does it do now? It makes it the object of his derision, insults, and so forth. Yeah, if the target is there, it could lead to violence. So I forgot what the main event or the main effect of this. Attend, I get. You can kind of distract and get the attention. But demean, what mechanically does that do to the target? I guess other than just sway everybody's opinion against the target, perhaps. Distrust, you're again pointing out something dishonest about the target and attempting to create distrust among the group towards this individual. So with certain situations, I can see if you're trying to help somebody become a leader, or put down somebody that's causing a bunch of trouble and change sort of loyalties and that kind of thing, these skills could come into play. But the attend could be used in some encounters, like combat encounters, I think. Could the demean and distrust? I don't know. Maybe so. Maybe the demean could do something to the enemy, and distrust, maybe it could affect the morale. I'd want to check back with the other classes to see what those descriptions were, just to see if there's anything else, any other details there, just to review them. Enrage. So you're trying to bring the audience to rage at a particular target. And if the target isn't present, but is still someone in the audience they would normally be sympathetic to, there's a 10% bonus to the chance of success. So let me read that again. That always throws me off just a little bit. By the use of this ability, the Skald brings his audience to rage aimed at a particular target. The listed chances for success assume the target is generally liked and respected. If the target is not present, but is still someone the audience would normally be sympathetic to, there's a 10% bonus to the chance of success. Because they're not there. If the target is present, but neither particularly liked nor disliked, there's a 20% bonus. And if the target is absent, so you get the bonus because they're not there. If they are there, but they're not particularly liked or disliked, you get a 20% bonus. If the target is absent and disliked, or hated, it says, if the target is absent and hated, or present and disliked, or the Skald himself, there's a 30% bonus. And if the target is present and hated, there's a 40% bonus. Wow, I just have to read that and read that and read that to get all those bonuses right. But, you're just trying to get people riled up. So basically, if you're attempting to get people all riled up and you fail your roll by 30% or more, the audience resents your attempts and turns ugly in your direction. Inspire is the Skald's attempt to bolster morale and fighting. And so, if successful, all those friendly to the Skald within 40 feet receive a 20% bonus to their morale rolls, and a +1 bonus on all 2-hit damage and saving. That's good. +1 bonus on all 2-hit damage and saving throw rolls. Include the Skald's charisma morale adjustment when determining the success or failure of a morale check. The Skald must play a musical instrument while using this ability, but at higher levels can simply use their voice. So what is value? Value is to make the audience revere and generally have a high opinion of a person or thing. So once again, we were thinking about A Knight's Tale and talking up the champion here to get him to compete in the tournament, that kind of thing. Woodcraft. I think this is the last one. The woodcraft is a skill. Again, we're going to be reading about. But they, I guess, get this automatically at first level. And your game master may, at his discretion and as dictated by the campaign setting, allow your character to have other skills as well, or instead of woodcraft, linked to their habitat, such as horsemanship, seamanship, etc. So there we have a look at the Skald. Definitely different with the hit points, the armor, and the weapons, but still some of those same abilities of the basic bard. So we're going to be heading into the Cavalier next.